Hi, this is Kim Hallin, and today I'm going to answer the question, why are mares so marish? Many horse people have strong opinions, one way or the other, about mares. Unfortunately, mares often get a really bad rap for being difficult and temperamental simply due to their hormonally induced behaviors. Regardless of how you personally feel about mares, if you spend time in an environment where mares are present, it will behoove you to understand exactly why mares are so marish. Let's start with a little basic information about mares' estrus cycles, which average about 21 days. This is just slightly shorter than the average estrus cycle for human females. For horses, the estrus cycle includes two very distinct phases. The first is the estrus phase, which is when the mare is actively in heat. On average, this phase lasts 6 days, but it can easily range anywhere from 4 to 10 days, depending on the individual. The second phase is the diestrus phase. This is when mares are not in active heat. For most mares, the estrus phase is most pronounced from late April or early May until August or September. This is the prime natural breeding season for horses and coincides with the time of year when the days are longest. From September through March, mares may still cycle, but these cycles are much less predictable, which is why most seasonal breeding activity is planned for the spring and summer seasons. Some of the common physical and behavioral indicators that a mare is actively in heat include an acute interest in male horses, which can include geldings, especially if the mare has no access to an intact stallion. It's worthwhile to note here that mares may sometimes even exhibit hormonal behavior toward other mares. This most often happens when a new horse is introduced to a herd, could be a male or female, but the stress and excitement of a new horse being added to a herd can induce hormonal behavior in mares. The hormonal mare's interest in other horses may border on obsessive at times, depending on the season and the strength of the estrus cycle, as well as other stress factors that may be present. Additional obvious physical indicators could be the mare elevating her tail, squatting to urinate. This is sometimes referred to as breaking down. Everting the vulvar labia, which is also known as winking, and inviting a gelding or accepting a stallion for breeding. Other behaviors that are frequently observed in domestic mares that either do not have access to a stallion for breeding or that are frustrated when the male horse they are attempting to court doesn't accept their invitation might include stamping and squealing, excessive tail swishing, nipping, obsessive stalking, and separation anxiety. Other more general behaviors that might be observed during estrus cycle include increased irritability, increased sensitivity to touch, increased reactivity to external stimuli, and even decreased energy or focus for training and other activities. If you have one or more mares in your life, the most important thing to remember is that all of these behaviors are 100% normal. Reproduction is the most basic and strongest drive a horse has. Because a gelding's reproductive organs have been surgically removed, they understandably have much lower levels of testosterone, androgen, and estrogen. This means the hormonal response that geldings have to mares in heat is typically much lower than what stallions would have. What many humans actually don't understand about stallions is that a stallion's hormone levels are not constantly elevated by nature. Stallions' hormone levels also don't automatically go up on a recurring cycle like a mare's do. The hormonal drive to breed in stallions is only triggered when a stallion is in close proximity to one or more mares in heat. This is triggered by the scent of the mare's pheromones. In captivity, however, stallions are often kept in isolation, which can cause unnatural spikes in hormone levels due to a lack of natural social engagement with other horses. I think it's also really important for mare owners to understand that in the wild, mares typically spend much of their adult life after sexual maturity either pregnant or nursing a foal, or sometimes both. Wild mares will typically come into heat after foaling in May or June and are quickly mated by their chosen band stallion. The percentage of mares in the wild that foal every year ranges anywhere from 10% to 50%, depending on a wide range of factors, including age, the relative safety of their environment, and the overall health of both the stallion and the mare. The percentage of mares that foal increases to 60% and higher for mares that foal at least once every 2 years. The highest reproductive rates for mares in the wild occur in horses that are 5 years of age and older. This coincides closely, ironically, with the peak years for training, riding, and performance in domestic horses. What this means is that during the years when a wild mare would spend most of her life pregnant and only going into active heat once or twice a year, our domestic mares must cope with the hormonal fluctuations of estrus pretty much year-round and sometimes for their entire lives. I hope this video has given you a little better understanding about why mares are so marish, and I also hope that it gives more people a great deal more empathy for our beautiful female equine companions.